as you're on it, you become really attractive to the opposite sex because you don't need anything. You don't want anything from them. And you
Yeah.
literally discipline, so you're not giving them anything besides just pure platonic energy, and learning to take that in versus needing to take in the beauty of a woman constantly to fill you up. Yeah, I could go out and go surf or sit and create, just be good with where I am in the moment and not need anything. I could deal with whatever the moment is delivering to me. I'm not out there hungry for it and dependent on it. So it's the energy is just different of how I feel inside.
Curtis, absolutely brilliant to meet you. I feel like I know you just from following your content for so long. Happy Friday, by the way.
Yeah, brother. Great to be here.
Um, I I like how I discovered you, Curtis, was on my TikTok page, and I stayed for your I came for your like style hacks or like
Yeah.
dressing like a gentleman. Like that's what drew me in, and then your voice was so captivating on that. And whatever way it works with TikTok, I started kind of learning more about the internal piece and the conversation and the meaning you have around that. So yeah, I've just again, I'm delighted that we're chatting. I've got so much solace from the content and the message you put out. So I wanted more people to hear that and watch that and meet you.
Awesome, dude. Well, I appreciate that, and I appreciate you staying for watching the style bits and opening yourself up to more of what I have to share.
I followed your. It was TikTok. I started following you on, but I've subscribed to your Substack as well today. So that will definitely be a Sunday read.
Cool, cool. Yeah, that's a place where I could, I guess, have a little bit more of someone's attention, time
Yeah.
wise.
Yeah, the long form piece.
Yeah.
But Curtis, like again, podcast with this is Saturdays. This is a podcast all about people, all about following their passion, listening to people who have followed their own heart, their own mission, and conversations about how you did that. But where am I chatting with you today? Where are you based? I love the background. It's very
Oh
consistent to
yeah, thank you.
your yeah.
I'll shout out to my lovely, amazing ex-girlfriend. She painted that for me for my birthday last year.
Oh, she's an artist.
So, I personally think she is. She's definitely an artist. She doesn't do it full time, but she's quite talented. So that's a customized, one of a kind gift from her.
Well, you
But
can let her
I'm
know she
coming to you
definitely is
from
an
Austin,
artist.
Texas.
Oh, are you? Okay. Okay, very good. Um,
Yeah.
I'm from Ireland originally, but I keep extending my time in a place called Santa Teresa in Costa Rica. So you were finding me on my balcony on a Friday, and again, this is where I chat with people. This is where I chat with my friends and family, and I just wanted to kind of replicate that and bring that into the Saturday's message.
I love it. I love it. What a beautiful place to be. I would join you for a surf after.
I I saw that you surf. Did you take up surfing at 40, Curtis, or was that something that you've always done?
No, I grew up at the beach, so I started
Okay.
surfing when I was a teenager.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then, living in the middle of the desert, it's a little hard to surf, but I'll get back to the beach eventually. But yeah, so I surfed for teenager and then currently when I'm near water.
Look, you never know. Life is beautifully wonderful. Maybe one day I can surf with you. Not the best wise surfing, but
Yeah.
I'll do my best to stand up and try turn.
Yeah.
Um, And so, look, Curtis, again, if you see me looking at my screen here, I've got a bunch of notes on yourself
Oh yeah.
that I've looked
Amazing.
at. Yeah, but like I was like even a little bit nervous like coming up to our chat because I was like want to value the time that we have.
Yeah.
But I was like, Patrick, hang on a second, take a moment. Like you followed this guy for months. Like you could even if you didn't have the notes, I could have a conversation with you. But I'm glad I did learn what I did because like there's so much to the identity and the life that you're trying to live that many men, including myself, up until like the last couple of years, were not doing. So, I would love to kind of learn about you. How did you get to where you are today, Curtis? And yeah, tell me about that, Curtis. Like who you are.
Yeah, man. Um, Well, I think my journey started young on in fashion. It started right away. It was just like a thing I loved. Like I remember when I was from 5 to 10 years old, like one of my favorite things to do was like to go to Nordstrom with my grandma and just like who kind of was like my mother, and just pick out my clothes. I mean, in third grade, there was a girl who was going to pick who was going to be her boyfriend between three of us. And the
Okay.
night before, I laid out my clothes, ironed them, picked out the perfect outfit. I was like, okay, this is the outfit. Walk to the bus stop the next morning, run home like, nope, this isn't it. Run home, change my outfit, jump back on the bus. Recess comes to the moment where she's going to pick the boy, and she didn't pick me. And I was like, man, boy, like, was it my outfit? I don't know what it was. Maybe it was he was like smarter than me.
Yeah.
So I've always had this thing of like where like clothing was like my self-expression
Mm.
and a piece of always wanting to know who I was. So like the two things I was really into, besides I played sports, but was psychology and fashion. Like those are
Mm.
just kind of like I got into like Zen Buddhism at 17 years old. Was on a date with a girl, ended up at a bookstore,
Okay.
um, at the mall, and I'm buying a book on Zen Buddhism.
It's always the
And
girl.
there's yeah,
Yeah.
right. It's always the girl.
Yeah.
And this kind of drove me deeper because I always wanted to know who I was because I never felt just like quite connected to me. And I'd see others, I'm like, man, like they just feel like they look like they're good in their skin.
Mm.
And lo and behold, when I turned 35, I discovered I was actually who my family wasn't my family.
Oh,
So
snap.
who I
Okay.
was told was my biological father and that whole side of the family who I kind of grew up with since around age 9. Actually, I was living with people who weren't my family.
Wow.
And so it kind of opened things up of like I've always had this curiosity of who I was. So I think that inner quest, just that innate thing that was like, who am I? Like, because it just things didn't align. It looked like the family.
Mm.
Their skin tone was different than mine. Hair, just like it, just nothing tracked. And so I always wondered if I was the mailman's kid, which I ended up, well, wasn't the mailman's kid, but I was someone else's kid. So
Okay.
I think all of
Was
that kind of led me into creating what I've kind of created now.
and sorry to interrupt you. Was like when you found out your family wasn't your biological family, like was that a complete shock? Like, did you have any idea like until you were 35?
Um, I had ideas. I had
Mm.
ideas because I didn't look like the family. On
Okay.
my mom's side of the family, I that was obviously, came out of my mom. Like I look
Mm.
like my grandma, like so I look like that side of the family
Yeah. Yeah.
genetically. Uh, so yeah, there was a little bit of like, oh shit, like you waited 35 years to tell me this because my mom knew.
For sure. Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and then it felt like there's a piece of like completeness of like, oh, well, things make sense now. So there was like both. There was like the shock of you waited till I was 35 to tell me, and there was a piece of like just like something being connected inside of me
Okay.
as well. Yeah.
Okay. I'm
That I
glad.
can't really explain into words. It's
Yeah.
like it's kind of more like a feeling of like this is just this all like this somehow just came together so nicely now inside of things making sense.
Okay. Um,
Yeah.
it's interesting. I'm saying this quote twice, but I started reading a lot of poetry in the last year. And I always connected with poetry, Curtis, even before I could connect with myself internally. But it just spoke to me in different ways. Like when my dad was sick when I was 17, I remember poetry kind of like brought out my emotions, and I could cry, which I never really could then. And then like
Hmm.
30, 33, 34 going through my own separation, which was like a big life event. I remember reading Emily Dickinson, picking her back up just randomly. And there was, again, I know that that poetry is 200, 300 years old, but still applicable
Uh-huh.
to today. But she said a quote, and it just kind of what you've just said there about you can't put it into words. She said, like, a word when said loses all its meaning. Like words take away from the power of what you're trying to feel. And
Yeah.
I, again, for communication for me, that just like hit a lot. Um, this like you don't need to put into words what that was, but you can feel it. Yeah.
That's cool, man. It's interesting you say Emily Dickinson too. I'm reading a book right now, and literally the chapter I'm on, they're talking about his crush on Emily Dickinson.
Really?
Yeah, so just kind of a
Yeah.
interesting thing there.
No, but that's like why I really like her, Curtis, was because she was a bit of an outcast or an outsider, and she was really this person was like her work is beautiful,
Yeah.
and how hilarious she was, but she becomes even more impressive when you realize her life. Like she spent most of her adult life in her dad's house. They were a big wealthy family. She never really got anything published because of her confidence, and she was constantly being critiqued by people who thought they knew better on poetry and her writing, and that
Hmm.
really that kept Emily at a certain uh, like level while she was alive. But when she passed away, her sister is like, nah, not having any of that. She finds all of her stuff, publishes it, and then she becomes one of the greatest literature like poets and
Wow.
writers ever to be known. Emily Dickinson is hilarious, like modern day
I'm gonna have
comedian.
to read some more of the poetry now just because of what's being shared here. So thank you for sharing that.
Like, sorry to derail you on poetry. Like, even as you're talking, like even I grew up with my grandmother until I was 15. So again, she was like a second mother to me. She was amazing, and the stuff you mentioned around dates. Maybe you were a lot younger. I'm a lot older then, but like I'm still changing my outfits when I'm going out for a date now. I'm like, uh, which yeah. So definitely need some more advice from yourself, but.
Yeah.
So, and with Curtis, so that kind of like fashion was always a big part of yourself. Buddhism and spirituality, from kind of what I'm hearing, is that's
Hmm.
something that came in your early 20s. Like, how did like have you always been on the path that that you're on now in terms of educating men about getting better internally and that reflects their outer world, or how did that come about?
Yeah, I think that came, I haven't always been on that path, maybe consciously,
Mm,
but I internally was on that path of, I remember sitting in junior high. So I loved theater and film as a kid, and like I was really an artist, but that part of me wasn't, I'd say, of the environment I in, it was sports, and so that part of me wasn't really nourished and like overly welcome to have a place to thrive. And
mm.
so I'd be in junior high and I'm watching um, the kids perform Oklahoma on stage for like all the schools in this major auditorium. I'm like, man, that looks amazing. Like they're on stage, they're free. Like how cool. Like I felt like that when I played baseball, but not. I was like, there's
Okay.
something there. And so I was in drama in junior high and had like the lead role in the junior high play. And so like there was this piece of me that I kept.
What was the lead role? Sorry, that you had.
It was so I was in like the first semester, so it was like a Christmas script, and I was like this husband and uh, had a children and whatnot. So you're like 14, 13. I think I was 13 years old.
Oh, okay.
But and then you perform it in front of all the they come to the class and you perform it like I don't know in front of everyone for a few days.
Awesome.
So like that piece was there, and then I went to college for a year because I couldn't. My shoulder was cranked from baseball, so like that wasn't going to happen.
Mm,
And started studying psychology, interpersonal communication, and I studied film for television. And
okay.
then a year later, I decided, even though I was doing really good in school, like got into honors English, and like all of a sudden I became kind of like very in tune with school, where before I just could care less.
This was
And then
college now there. That
this is
clicked for you, was it?
college.
Got it. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's college, and then I dropped out of college and enrolled in acting school at 19.
No
So from
way.
19 to 25, I was in acting school, like studying acting and film and television, how to be a film actor. And I got an agent, I got a manager, I was in the Screen Actors Guild, was in AFTRA, and I had gotten into acting because I thought that if everyone else could love me, I'd finally love myself.
Wow.
And that was the whole thing. I was like, I wanted to learn how to love myself. And so I thought, well, shit, if I'm on TV and I'm on Jay Leno and I'm making movies and like, I'll feel the love and I'll learn how to love myself. And so that was the whole premise behind acting until that kind of just all fell apart at 20, I think it was 26 when I made like I was in some cool roles with some like great like an actor from Charm, an actor from it was like on the show for 7 years. I was in a movie with a guy who was in Shawshank Redemption,
Wow.
another guy who was on the show Weed. So I was like I was going out for cool auditions, cool commercials, and I had like I had an agent, I had a manager, I had an agent in New Mexico, but like I wasn't landing much, and I didn't have the spine or the connectedness in me to
Okay.
like go in and like own the room. And eventually, I got within 2 weeks, all my agents and managers fired me and just let me go.
Wow.
And I was
That
like,
may go on. Sorry, Curtis.
no, and I was like, okay. I was like, I don't know. I was like, am I cut? I'm like, am I cut out for this? Like, do I do something else? Like, I'm like, okay. Like, I had to hit pause for a second.
Do you even oh snap! We both have our jars. I see that we brought on the pod. I
Yeah.
also sponsor. I'm glad we got that
Yeah.
memo. Dude, that makes so much sense because the content that you put out, like, you're an excellent communicator. So it's like it's no surprise that like you had trained and being an actor. Did you go? Where were you based when you were trying to kind of pursue that
Yeah,
area?
I was in LA. So I studied with a guy who was incredible. He studied at the neighborhood playhouse when he was younger with a legendary acting coach
Okay.
for like 2 or 3 years, and then he built a career and built an amazing acting studio in LA and taught for 30 years until he passed away on while I was producing a movie.
Mm.
But yeah, I would study with him, and he took me under his wing, and I'd go 2 days a week and just be in the world of film and TV.
And you kind of when you mentioned there around you were trying to love yourself by getting validation from others around you and because they saw the best parts of Curtis. Did like did you h- how did you try connect with yourself then? Were you able to talk to your own heart? Like were you able to connect it anyway with your own spine?
You know, there's a moment that's coming to me, and I was having to do a monologue audition for a manager
Mm,
that my friend set me up with, who was doing pretty well. And I remember I showed the like, just you got to do a monologue. I was like, well, what monologue am I going to do? I was like, well, I really like Matthew McConaughey. Let me do the monologue from Time to Kill,
okay.
where
Okay.
he's in the courtroom, and I think I'm probably 20. I think I'm 24,
Okay.
23. And I remember sitting in my room, like doing this monologue, and I'm just like in tears doing it. I'm like, oh man, like I'm connecting. But when it came, like for me to share that more in a bigger thing, it was really hard for me to like that because I didn't have, I wasn't able to go as that deep and wide. So
Mm,
it just, my auditions didn't hit because I wasn't willing to just be fully the scene in the raw because I didn't even know how to deal with those parts of me.
yeah.
Yeah.
You brought me back to a moment. I did it a little bit later in life. I love chatting with people. I love having conversations. And my friend, as we would call over in Ireland, call it banter. So I'd be very kind of quick and like with having like just with people and my friends, Curtis. But they've always
Hmm.
said like you need to do improv, Patrick. You would be so good at improv, and quite not to the not at the level that you were at, or like even a full time career. But I did a bunch of classes. I did a course, and I loved it. But there was a moment where I had to. I do try always go after the hard even before the internal stuff. But I remember I wanted the teacher to channel sadness because I can do humor, I can do I can do confidence. I could do those really easily, and happiness, but I can't
Mm-hmm.
do sadness. And he got me to think back to a time where I was like truly sad and truly conflicted, and it was it was like going back in time in my own body. And like we had to do a scene, and I just like brought back to me being a child in my own family home. And it was wild. I'd never had those emotions come up, and it actually stayed with me for like 2 hours afterwards.
Wow.
Of like just like that feeling I had when I was 7 or 8. And so that was my first taste of trying to get to know the little the my own inner child, which you
Yeah.
talk about a lot, and you've posted about a lot as well.
Yeah, man. That's amazing. It's a tender place to go to.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
beautiful place to go to as well when you start like
Yeah.
connecting with that and doing it compassionately as well. I find is brilliant because
Mm-hmm.
so much of us even, and I'd love to hear kind of like like how you came up with Sundays and bringing that to men. But so many of us have such a aggressive. We speak to ourselves so uncompassionately.
Mm.
Yeah,
Oh
like
yeah.
yeah. How do you find that yourself?
Yeah. I think in general, men, I think women too, but I'll just speak for men since we're chatting here.
Yeah.
But from what I've seen in coaching men and just being around other gentlemen, that the self-talk is brutal. And when you can develop that passionate self-talk and kind of rewire the way you communicate to yourself and really vouch for yourself and back yourself as you get to know who you are, the truth of like what of
Mm,
who you are, not like the of who you want people to think you are versus like I'm good with me. If you like me, cool. If not, that's okay too. Like, and then
yeah.
I think you really start to have a different self-talk about yourself around like, hey, I believe in you. We got this. We could do this. Like we're doing this. It's okay. Like I know it's in this. Tell yourself, hey, it's hard right now, and just
Yeah.
okay, it's hard. And having that, I think that we all get stuck in. Speak for myself in moments
Mm,
where it's like, ooh, the self-talk is like, and you kind of need to shift that energy. But I think for the most, if you can keep up that, you know, that self-belief, and when things get hard, okay, they're hard, and have the compassion, I think it's a game changer.
like how on earth did you? I love it though because like again I came for the style and like the very classic for me, like I would define it as like 1940s Italian, just like comfortable clothes. Um, and also this, I don't know if it's it's probably both your voice, the mic, like the sound is so crisp on the content that you delivered, Curtis. But like, how on
Mm.
earth did you come to the theory or like, hey, fashion and your internal self, they need to be locked in and connected, like, and your spine, as you talked about, it needs to be strong. Like, how did you come to that and then
To
create
do
your
these,
yes.
yeah. So let's rewind back to after I stopped acting, I started a
Okay.
clothing brand. I was like, let's start a clothing brand. And then I just didn't, this is before Instagram existed, before TikTok, like there's no
Mm,
selling on Instagram, none of that. And I just didn't have the resources or people around me. And I ended up carrying these clothes around with me for 8 years that I
okay.
made.
Wow.
Like I
Okay.
made some t-shirts, made some tank tops. So they traveled with me.
Yeah.
And in 2021, the start of 2021, so like
Okay.
right as COVID's like kind of coming to an end, kind of things are opening back up slowly. I took a trip down to Playa del Carmen in Mexico.
Okay. And you've talked
Yeah,
about Mexico a lot in like
yeah,
like
yeah. So
in the last year as well.
my family's from there originally, not from Playa del Carmen, but like my lineage comes from Mexico.
Okay.
And so I took a trip to Mexico. That kind of feels like a home to me.
Yeah.
And the whole point of the trip was like, okay, I'm doing this coaching thing, but there's something that's like missing. And so this is, 5 years ago. There's something that's just off. There's something
Mm,
that's locked up in me. And I just want to go, and like the whole trip, I'm going to go by myself and just see what's next. So
okay.
went to between Cancun and Playa del Carmen, this beach down there, and kind of just sat with myself. Again, it's like right after COVID. So not a lot of people are there. It's pretty empty.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm sitting on the beach under a palm tree, in a little, day bed, just me, there's no one in sight, and the water. And all of a sudden, I got my journal with me. I just hear the voice, design clothes again. And I'm like,
Very
what?
cool.
And I'm like, design clothes again. I'm like, let me write this down. Design clothes again. Okay. And then it just said, dream beyond the horizon.
Okay.
And I was like, let me write this down. So I was like, okay. And that was kind of, so I was like, okay, designing clothes again. And so I came back on my trip and I was like, all right, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to just do coaching and I'm going to start a clothing brand. And then I don't know how it's going to happen, but this is what I'm going to do. And I'm going to start with swimwear. I'm wearing swim. Swim was really hard for me to find things I like. So I was like, I'll just design swimwear. And that's kind of how this started. And I meet someone, an introduction here. I'm working from some place and someone mentions something. I say something back and like, oh, you need to meet someone. And like a door opens to like the first person who ends up designing my first iteration of clothing. So I had a clothing brand.
Okay. What was the
And
clothing band? What was the clothing band called? I didn't see that or read that.
Oh yeah, no. So it's called Strangers Only.
Oh yes, I did. Okay, that makes sense. That was the
Yeah.
company.
And
Yeah,
so the
yeah.
name came from strangers would just always come up to me like, yo, I love your fit. I love your style, da da da, comment on it. So I'd meet people and then we had throw in the relevance of not knowing my biological father and that whole family. And so it was like strangers only.
Sorry, I'm really sorry to interrupt you, but like
Yeah, yeah.
your style is excellent. Like it's like some of your videos, Curtis, you wear these red glasses and they're so nice. But I was like
Thank
that
you.
you were, dude. I bought them in January for the place that I'm in, and I was like, Curtis, you were actually the person I was like that was where I got the idea. So anyway, yeah.
How do they fit? How do they
They,
fit?
I'm gonna hang on. You know what? While we're gonna do this live, I have them here. I just I
Let's
was
see it.
I was I
You,
was thinking about wearing them on the podcast, but I thought I'd.
dude, that's one of the most, that's probably the single most question I get is where are your sunglasses from? And so I just started, I was like, well, I'm going to start wearing sunglasses in all my videos and eventually just get sponsors because I get, I'll have in 3 months over 2 million views. I'm like, I'm just going to wear sunglasses.
They're like I hope whoever that sunglasses company is, Curtis, they should be sponsoring you or at least giving you free
Yeah.
fits.
I'm Aquila LA. I'm waiting for the sponsorship deal.
They'll definitely listen
Or
to.
Moscot. Or Moscot. One of those two brands. Bring on the sunglasses deal. I'm ready.
They can send me a pair since I clearly can't find mine while we're chatting. But that's I'll send them after.
Yeah.
But I love them. I get so many compliments on them. Like I sometimes like I get so many compliments on them like daily.
Amazing.
So
I
thank
love
you
it. I
for
love it.
that and the many gifts.
Yeah. See, I love that. That's like one of the things with fashion that I love is like it opens up like it just opens things up to you that just wouldn't be opened. And so I don't look at it as like a vain thing. I just look at it as like a
Yeah.
gentleman who wants to like present himself in the best way he can. Like throw some effort.
Absolutely. Do you like? I don't. I don't want to shift away too much from your story.
Yeah.
But like, was there any inspirations that you have? Like you talked about Nordstrom with your granny. Was there any other? Is there any other influences that you draw for like how you dress and how you design your own clothes?
Yeah. So I've lived in many different places. I grew up in Orange County in LA. So I had that
Okay.
natural California, just like cool fashion, like laid back surfer kind of like I was just born and bred in like those worlds, right?
Okay.
So blessed to be able like to grow up in that location. And then I also lived in New York City, in the Hamptons and Miami Beach.
Three very different places. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'd say the Hamptons and Miami Beach are very similar of what people are wearing. It's ritzy. It's there's a lot of lot
Yeah.
of just there's a lot of money flowing.
A lot
There's
of lot of polos. I've been out to that neck of the woods before. Yeah.
yeah. So there's just like your Montauk. There's a little bit different. So but there's people are stylish.
Yeah.
especially in, I'll say New York City, the Hamptons, Miami Beach, a beast of its own. But you have the aspect of the ocean and certain fabrics and things. So my style aesthetic kind of came from all these different things. And then also I was kind of really inspired by one of the brands in New York City actually is called Saturday's New York City. And so I discovered them like 12 years ago, and they've been a big inspiration to me. And then I liked a lot of like French fashion from the 60s, like French New Wave. I found just really like cool, the sunglasses, striped shirts. Like, I mean, I don't smoke cigarettes, but like they kind of just had this vibe to them. I was like, oh, that's cool. And so for me, I'm like, I take all these for my style. It's like, I like to blend things.
Okay.
So that's kind of how I would just like design style in the clothes. I'd get inspired by maybe, I don't know, some flowers or something I see in nature or a certain color or a certain texture. And I was like, okay, cool. Like that'd be cool. So that's kind of like how I let it kind of pour in and follow what's interesting to me. And that's how that's how I kind of designed clothing.
But even the way you dress now, Curtis, because I'll send you a few photos of styles. Look, I'm a trier. I'll try different things, but sometimes it looked ridiculous. But I think I've like the likes of yourself and then kind of other men's fashion creators online. I really like how minimalist you are. Like the content, like the statement pieces that you have there are just the quality and the texture looks very slick, and then you have that kind of like poppy blue hat that kind of like accentuates the outfit. It's just really cool the different layers there.
Thanks, man. Yeah, I think that's like my thing. Like, I'm not your typical like menswear content creators wearing the ties or the blazers or saying covering the new polo collection or whatnot. I definitely have like more of an edge, more of there's like a little bit bolder of a piece when it comes to my how I like to dress.
I like again like how long have you been doing the online piece like on TikTok or Instagram like for
Okay, yeah. So I'll circle back. So I started this clothing brand because I'll lead us right there. Start this clothing brand. Invest all my self-funded, get the brand going, meet someone who wants to be a part of it. And I thought, okay, cool. Like this guy wants to be a part of the brand. Had his own, I don't know. I guess they had a creative marketing brand. And so he was like a creative director for this brand he had started, which is a creative consulting agency, but it was all like digital kind of design stuff. No actual physical products. And I was like, okay, cool. Like seems talented, whatnot. Bring him on as a partner and design a new collection. And I'm doing 95%. He's adding some lovely touches and really like a lot of good branding was his skills. I'm going to shows. I'm doing pop-ups. I'm traveling everywhere to like get this.
You are hustling.
I'm hustling. I get it into Macy's, then Macy's opens the door for Nordstrom. And so then like, okay, cool. We're at Macy's. I'm in my dream brand, Nordstrom, where I used to shop as a kid. Like
very cool.
Things are flowing. I opened a store. And while I'm doing this, I'm still doing my coaching business. So I'm like 7 days a week. I'm coaching clients in the morning. I'll go to the gym. Then I go to the store. I open the store. Eventually, I had to shut down the store because it just was bleeding. Just wrong time, wrong location.
Where was the store? Was it in New York?
I opened a no. Unfortunately, I wanted to. If it was in New York, I probably might not be talking to you right now.
That's well. I'm glad. Well, I'm certainly glad you are.
Yeah, I would if I would have had this brand in New York, it would have been a different story. I'd have a different life right now because I'm sure. See, the clothes I designed are good for the coast. They're Paris, New York City, Miami Beach, LA, Orange County, very coastal city. Texas is not really
Yeah,
my taste is per se is the far end of the spectrum here, right?
I gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm like, I'm the black sheep for what you would say in Texas.
In Ireland,
So
in Ireland, if you were Irish, Curtis, people would say you have notions. You have that's what they would
yeah,
say. You have
okay, there we
notions. Yeah,
go.
but because you're thinking bigger than the town or the city or the yeah. That's cool
Yeah,
though.
exactly. So there comes a point where we're growing fast on this Nordstrom's marketplace, but I'm doing everything and I'm like I had just bought a condo and I'm pouring everything into this brand. I'm like, man, my other business is like funding things and it became a partnership where I'm like, this guy's just not like, his heart ain't in it.
Yeah,
His heart's just not, he thought it would be cool, but it's not, he was thinking something else. And this, like, he just doesn't have the love and this, what I need from a partner.
Hmm.
And then I had this come to a hard realization. I was like, man, I was having more hair fall out than ever. I was stressed all the time. I was just not enjoyable even like with myself.
Yeah.
And I was like, I got to shut this thing down. Like I keep bringing it back to life,
Hmm.
And so finally I was like, I'm going to shut this company down. I got to shut, like, I can't, this dream is not going to work with him. I've come so far in designing collections, got the brand in Nordstrom. I mean, we're gaining traction. And I just shut it down and went back to coaching. And then I was creating some fashion content, and how kind of Sunday Gentleman came along was inspired by my favorite brand, Saturdays. My ex at the time, who painted this, was like,
Yeah. So you complimented the name when we were chatting on Instagram. First of all, I know I'm interrupting your flow and I apologize, but it
yeah,
makes so much
no, it's
sense from
okay.
reading your Curtis. It makes so much sense from reading your stuff. Because in one post you said about turning 40, you talked about like two of your biggest idols like gave you your shot, and like I reached out to you by cold on Instagram DM. I just followed you because I was like I
Oh,
want to talk to him.
they followed me. Yeah, two of my biggest idols followed me on Instagram.
Okay, but like just makes a lot of like, and then you like the name of what I said of this show
Yeah,
and what we're all about.
yeah.
But no, it's just yeah, it's just cool. Like you seem like the kind of person, you are the kind of person who gives people their shot very early on.
Appreciate that. Um, so yeah, she's like, what about like Sundays?
Yeah.
Because I was toying around with different names. Like, I got to change the name of the brand now. I'm like, now I need to figure out. I'm like, we got to integrate the fashion piece into the coaching piece somehow. And she's like, what about Sundays? I was like, yeah, I like Sundays. And so then I just basically did a poll on TikTok of like 4 different options of like, hey, I need help naming my brand. What name sticks?
Okay.
And everyone was like, Sunday Gentleman, Sunday Gentleman. I was like, okay,
Sunday
cool.
gentleman.
That's what we're gonna do, Sunday Gentleman. And then I just started making, that relationship ended, and she really helped send me into a deeper aspect of connecting and being really like strong in my core and connected to my core, and sent me into like deeper men's work that I hadn't done before, but I was like aware of, but hadn't done. And so I'm grateful like that ended, because it really just like, it forced me into like, I basically went on a cleanse of no flirting, no texting, no sitting around waiting to talk to some girl for 7
Yeah.
months of just, it's me, God, and other men. And so that's kind of how I'm like, okay, well, I was kind of constrained at the time. I was like, well, I can't post content about my own clothes. I'm not designing anymore. I can't say, hey, wear these clothes. You can't buy them anywhere. And I'm like, what is it that I'm like, what could I offer right now? I was like, well, I could dress dudes all day long. So let me just start to figure out how to talk about styling versus watch me get dress videos, which I have. If you look further in my channel, you'll find those videos.
Okay.
They're there.
Okay.
They're there.
Haven't seen
They're
them
definitely
yet.
there. They're way down, but they're there. And then I was like,
That's
well, like, this isn't like, I'm going to run out of clothes. So
Yeah.
this isn't sustainable. But so I was kind of restrained, and I was like, okay, well, let me bring in the style piece, this identity piece, and let's just see what happens here.
Mm,
And that's how kind of all that content just came because of like restraints.
yeah. Even
It
even
all
when you're
came through
talking,
restraints.
it like it came from restraints, right? But like I don't think men like it's not like you went through this, in my opinion, like this huge change. Like you always had those core talents there. Like I didn't know that
Mm-hmm.
about your life, but hearing that, like, you look, dude, you went like baseball, acting, start a clothes brand, like everything you said there about Macy's and Nordstrom, like that isn't an email. That is months and years and like of work, of weekdays, of weekends, just nonstop. Like that's like that at no point there, Curtis, did I hear about you going into an office, putting on a tie and working Monday to Friday somewhere in some company. Like you have even maybe the internal piece wasn't there quite as right.
Mm-hmm.
But like you were like that is really really impressive stuff to hear. Yeah,
Thanks, man. Yeah, I never wore a suit and tie.
good
Um,
on you.
although there's a picture of me when I was like 8 years old, and it's a just a real high end like shot of me in a tie and some suspenders with my brothers. But yeah, never wore a
Yeah,
suit
I
and
saw
tie,
the
man.
picture.
Yeah, dude, I think I've been chasing dreams since I was about, from very young age of just pursuing it. Yeah, so it's in me, but I didn't have the connected piece for a
Yeah.
lot of it.
Can we talk about the connected piece, because a lot of like people I'm talking, and they're not even particular to, they can be in your area, Curtis, but some are musicians, they're business owners,
Hmm.
they're bakers, and they've talked a lot about the connected piece, and some of it is spirituality, some of it is God, some of it is their own interpretation of that. But
Hmm.
when did that happen for you? It was that 7 months, but what was that like? What happened during that and after?
Well, I had to figure out who I was outside of being in a relationship with a woman.
Yeah.
So that was like, okay, who am I? And I had like, I'm glad I was in that last one because she also pointed out that I needed to look at something that was on my head, and I ended up having melanoma, stage 1
Of course.
cancer. So like, it brought up all the stuff of like, okay, I'm 30, 40 at the time,
Okay.
and I got to figure out who I am outside of a relationship, like, and just reconnect with, okay, and just get down. And so a lot of that work of just being with me, of certain practices, of on the daily, and just being with the all the things that I might have just like suppressed and not felt, and just sat with those pieces of like, okay, who am I? What am I about? What am I not about? And really just becoming firm and solid in who I was without any material stuff. Because I used to have,
Yeah.
I used to have a Porsche. I lived in a high rise condo. Life was cushy.
Yeah.
But I wasn't. I was I my it was all my energy. My energy didn't. It wasn't coming out cleanly and
Okay.
aligned and integrity um, and I'd say in a way of, especially with women, of them feeling too safe around me,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? And me being able to back and hold my word or speak my truth. So that's kind of what that whole thing was about, of being able to connect. Like, hey, regardless of whatever's happened in my life, could I be good with me? It might be a hard day, but could I still
Mm,
bring myself bring whatever I can to this moment and show up regardless of what's happening because I'm good with me?
yeah.
And so I'd say that's like the magic that's poured out of everything that's kind of transpired over these past, uh, 4 or 5 years as I've built a brand, closed down a brand, rebuilding a new brand, and kind of
Yeah.
seeing what opens up as I continue to create this.
What the you meant, like you talked about the 7 months thing, because I want to, like, I feel like I'm asking questions for myself, and I want to be mindful, like people who are watching and listening to this. But like even what you're saying about a girl just finished with me a couple of days ago, and I got asked out on a date there on Wednesday, And I went last night, and it was great. But I know
Yeah.
internally, I'm like, first off, I know what like guys like me, or I know a lot of guys will talk to ChatGPT sometimes ahead of our friends, or we can't maybe get in touch with our therapist. But I knew that was way too soon, and
Yeah.
like it was actually reading your Substack article before this interview and thinking about the last girl who ended it with myself. I was like, I was not being true to myself at all in the last month, and I've tried to do as much work as I can on myself internally, Curtis. But first
Mm-hmm.
off, be compassionate. I caught myself in the relationship going,
Yeah, yeah.
Patrick, you're not being you. Like you are bending your values here to placate this person. But it only really hit me there, like even just after reading your article, I was like, I was completely out of sorts. And old Patrick, by the way, was like, I want to go text that girl and say that to her. And I'm like, no, you don't need to do that, buddy. Like
Mm-hmm.
just you just you've recognized it, like process that. But I that was that 7 months. My point is, was that 7 months hard? Like, was that hard to do to to do that cleanse?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I definitely surrounded myself by like an all-star team
Yeah,
because I got to break all my old patterns of going after a woman, right? Of
absolutely.
the way I showed up energetically with the purpose of the relationship versus I got to shift how I show up for myself, for
Mm,
them. Like this. And the last relationship was nothing like that with my ex. Like it was
yeah.
actually a really great relationship. We broke up because
It's amazing the
basically
way you
she,
it's amazing the way you talk about your ex. Like I've seen it online and even hearing it now. It's so warm. Yeah.
oh, thank you. Yeah, she's amazing. I mean, basically, she wasn't sure on kids, so I was like, well, I don't want to. We're not going to drag each other along. Um, but so then I was like, okay, well, let me just go on this cleanse now. So yeah, it was tough, man. There's moments where you're just like you're wanting to. Oh well, let me just like send a message here, put myself out, or I'm at the coffee shop and maybe I'll just hang around an extra few minutes to catch this woman's gaze.
Yeah.
And yeah, and then as you're on it, you become really attractive to the opposite sex because you don't need anything, you don't want anything from them,
It's wild. It's wild
right?
how that works.
And you
Yeah.
literally like you're disciplined, so you're not giving them anything besides just pure platonic energy. So it's very platonic, transactional in the sense of, oh, if you're, I'll buy you a coffee if they're a friend or whatnot. But yeah, so then you become very attractive to them because you don't need anything. And that's kind of the whole premise, is to build it where you're good with you and figuring out like what are the things and just receiving the beauty of nature and learning to take that in versus needing to take in the beauty of a woman constantly to fill you up.
It sounds like you're good on your own and even with yourself. Like you're able to go to the beach for that moment where you're like design clothes again. Start with that. Like, were you always okay like sitting with yourself, Curtis, as like in those moments of silence where the phone wasn't there, your family wasn't there, a girl wasn't there, or something like that? Or how did you work on it?
Not like I am today.
Yeah.
Um, I definitely had moments where I was like, oh, right now I need to just focus on what I'm doing. But
Mm,
there was always the piece that just, I wasn't filled up in who I was inside. So I was needing the external attention
mm.
to, it's like, oh, I need water. So they're my water and I don't want to die of thirst because I'm not going to feel good inside. And so it didn't come until later where now I'm like, yeah, I could go out and go surf or sit and create or, just be good with where I am in the moment and not need anything. I could deal with whatever the moment is delivering to me. And that's not to say like I want to get married, I want to have kids, I want to have at least a
Yeah.
child. So that's there, but I'm
You
not
want to be a dad,
out
yeah.
there searching. I'm not out there hungry for it and dependent on it. Like, so it's the energy is just different of how I feel inside.
How did you get a relationship with God? Like how did like, because that's something I struggle with. I do believe that there's a power greater than myself, and I do
Uh-huh.
feel those moments of humanity. I feel God is there, and I feel everything happens for a reason. But it's something I'm like, is there, or like I want to, but like, how did you develop that relationship and that it within yourself?
I think, yeah, that's a good question. It's still developing. It's still an
Mm,
ongoing like practice. And I think one of the things for me was learning how to receive. I mean, I've always loved the ocean, loved nature. And so then it was learning to just receive like the beauty of nature. And I've always had this really deep intuitive piece in me to be able to listen and hear. Um, and then so it became, okay, I need to just like let this go, and like what is God, whatever you want to call it, presenting to me in this
mm,
moment that I need either to step into, let go of. And it kind of just came into like getting more into the power of like prayer
yeah,
and connecting that way. Um, and then my brother's really into, I saw he lives in California, and like when I was down in California back a few months ago, I'd go to just church with him and listen and be there. And so
awesome.
that was cool to share that with him.
Yeah,
And so I kind of like, that's like, all right, there's obviously something that created me that's well beyond any type of my power that I
mm,
have to create. Like, let's tap into what this is and be receptive of it. And so that's kind of for me the of like my gifts I have, or they're coming from, they're not from me.
yeah,
I'm using who I am to service these gifts. Like these ideas, like when I'm getting the flow, they're not. I don't know where they're not coming from me. They're just all of a sudden they appear. I'm like, oh, well, let's create this thing.
that that's all. It's like, again, like the idea I kind of, with the name Saturdays for me, Curtis, was it was the moment in my week where I would intentionally try to do nothing, and by
Yeah,
doing nothing, all of these great ideas and these feelings in myself, like the real emotions, would come up. Sometimes really hard, where if something was going on, but other times really beautiful, where the best ideas come. So, um, like, yeah, that's like that's where I would have kind of that would have flown through me, like in that time. But that's where the name was.
amazing. Yeah, I think that's it. Right? Is you have to be still and silent to actually hear and listen. I mean, that's how my clothing brand came. Just sitting on the beach and just, okay, I'm in, and that just this poured into me.
And like, this is what I wanted to say, and you very like you brought it back sequentially to like the timeline of your life. But even when I look at your, like, when did you launch your TikTok? Like, when did you start posting about like gentleman style like that? When did the TikTok start?
Um, I started posting about the gentleman stuff. Let's see. That would have been in July, I think, of last year. June, July, somewhere around there.
And
Early summer, late spring.
I think I started following you then. I think you definitely did a post on James Dean and effortless style that way, and but you might have did you ever do one on Jude Law or anything, or was there ever a clip of him?
I think there was an image of him in one of my pieces of me talking about something around like style. I think there was an image I used of him
I was like, when I
because I had
saw it pop up
watched
from,
his new show on Netflix, and I was like, oh, I kind of like he's got a look here, and I just used one of the images, still images.
I again, I've always liked his style. He's kind of like, he's working with a brand that's all about 1940s, 1950s, like classic Italian.
Yeah,
Um, but I think you may have shared the image, and then like I was like, holy shit! I was like, this is class. And then I clicked onto your page, and like because you'd only started, you didn't have a big following, and I was like, I was shocked that there wasn't thousands and thousands and thousands of more people. I really do, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart. I think you're going to blow up. And I think you're going to blow up, is my point. I think you're going to be huge in exactly what you're doing, Curtis. Yeah.
thank you. I appreciate that.
Like, where does the, like, I know we're coming to the end of our chat, but like, when you kind of look to the future for yourself now, like, what does that look like? Like what would you love to continue doing or do, or like what's that like for yourself?
Yeah, I think there's a few fronts here. Well, as I'm building out the personal brand and Sunday Gentleman to like for that, the vision is to eventually have live in person, a place like where you are right now in Costa Rica, to throw
Awesome.
on a 7 day refresh adventure where we're surfing, but we're also getting down and dirty with like some deep work and like breathing and doing some really cool stuff together to
Awesome.
really connect and just be men together. So yeah, doing that, growing the Gentleman Standard program, which is like a live 6 month training, really to build that out. And
Okay,
then I have the
great.
styling aspect. So, brand deals, I'm open to working with other companies and still doing that design work as well, because I do have that piece. And so I think right now I'm kind of just building that out and also open to what comes as I'm basically, I'm rebranding my own life, and I'm
Yeah.
still in the middle of of building this up. It's nowhere near to a spot where it's where a ton of people know about it, and where it's
Mm.
so that's the vision, is to eventually have Sunday Gentlemen where it's like there's live retreats, there's the 2 programs a month or 2 programs a year, and it's a really like a spot for guys to come and raise their standard of how they present themselves and also how they live internally.
Sign me up when those retreats come up. I am there. That is,
Yeah.
I will have my red glasses and passport, and I will be, I am there, Curtis. That's amazing. I love that vision,
Thanks, man. Yeah.
and I'm glad there's more men out there like you who are talking, who are living their best self. And there's, for me, what, like you talked about, a strong spine, and I've heard that from people over here about people talking about the strength of your spine. But for me, it's about being connected to the heart and being happy.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I always do it at the end of a kind of to bring it to a close, Curtis. But is there any kind of books or people you'd recommend others should follow or learn from on their own journey, if they're like kind of after they kind of click end and on what our chat?
Yeah, man, absolutely. There's 2 guys who have made major impact on my life. I actually made a reel with their book recommendations, and the reel's gone like over 200,000 views. Did really well. But yeah, 2 guys.
Okay,
Definitely check out for all relationship like just skills. A dude named Jason Gaddis,
okay, Jason
who's
Gaddis.
amazing. Yeah, so he's actually one of my teachers, mentors, and then another guy named John Weiland, who's like the goat of men's work. And he's got a book called From the Core, which is a phenomenal book. So I'd say definitely check out 2 of those guys, because they're 2 of my mentors who have helped and coached me along my path and have taught me great things. And I'm literally sharing things they've taught me.
That's incredible. Um,
Yeah.
Again, I always try to share this because for me, my next great book or my next great place that I go comes from conversations like this. There's a great one that I read in the last 2 weeks that a buddy who I was out surfing with, he recommended. It's called The Untethered Soul. It's I forget the author's name, but it was like it kind of does that, like some of the introspective work you did, Curtis, like how you're feeling or maybe how you were asking someone out or looking at external
Mm-hmm.
factors. One of the big core concepts of the book is like what's behind that, like why are you feeling that way? And
Mm.
it's like you're removing yourself, and you're, if Patrick or Curtis was sitting across from the table, you're kind of studying and observing yourself and why that is. And I just found that really, really powerful. And like the final piece that it led to was the question with life, it all comes down to is, are you happy or not? Are you choosing happiness?
Yeah.
And when you're not connected to your heart, you don't know what happiness is. And but having that very clear question allows you to explore like what that is for you. Why do you feel that way? So that would be a book I would maybe recommend yourself to check out.
Awesome. I'll add that to my list.
Um,
Appreciate that, man.
Man, so good to meet you in person. I'm really looking like I'll let me know about your trips and your retreats, and I would love to take part if possible, and I would love to stay in touch and maybe do a follow-on podcast in the year as well
Yeah,
to
yeah,
see where you go.
absolutely. Would love that, and I'd love to come down to Santa Teresa, and that's actually I think that's a good spot for a lot of retreats. Actually,
Dude, if you come down here, there is people like you in the like there's as many people who think that way, who talk that way. They've co-working spaces, there's men's circles, there's people are really open and supportive down here. So I love it. So it's definitely it could be a potential spot for yourself for what you're thinking.
sounds like a my type of town.
Yeah. The I think the jacket and the hat, it's we'll have to get you a pair of shorts, but
Yeah,
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 yeah.
we'll have to go back to full-time summer wear.
Oh, I was like it's summer here. I was wearing pants yesterday, just to mix it up, and a t-shirt. And five people came up to me. They're like, "Why are you wearing pants here?" Like, no one wears pants. Like it's that's the kind of vibe you'll be experiencing when you make it down this neck of the woods.
Yeah, I'm like, hey man, I want to go on a date, put on a little something nice.
Yes, like yeah, it's dude, I fully I feel that. Yeah.
Awesome, man. Well, I appreciate you having me on and, reaching out to me and sending me a great voice note, actually video voice note, which was amazing. So, and wanting to have me on your show Saturdays, like, appreciate
Yeah.
that.
Nah, that came easy. Like sometimes when I'm doing this, Curtis, like I'm the pickup has been so big because like each collection has 10 guests and I have 8 spots filled. I could have more now, but I'm kind of like saving it for like one more big dream guest that like yourself, like just wanted to have a chat with. But the reason is, and why I'm getting such a good response rate is because I'm like, who would I actually just like to have a chat with? And who am
Yeah.
I interested in? And that's where it kind of all flows. So I'm delighted that we could kind of create space for this and have this happen.
Awesome, man.
Yeah,
Glad to be a part of it.
yeah, right here. Look, pleasure. Have a great weekend, my friend. And I
Yes,
can't.
brother. You
I'm
too. Keep me
yeah.
posted on this when this comes out and I'll share it.
You are a consummate professional. April 30th, we are launching the podcast, and it'll go for 10 weeks. And I'll let you know a week before when I'm thinking of that. We'll share your piece as well. But April 30th, everything's going out.
Okay. Can't wait, man.
Awesome. Right,
All right,
Curtis.
Patrick.
Pleasure.
Thank
Take
you.
care, boss. All the best. Bye bye.